Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. So you join me 3 weeks until I'll be taking this BMW GS to ride from Northamptonshire in the UK all the way across France and Spain to the Sahara Desert in Morocco. That's right, 3 weeks. And it's still in bits. The gearbox is out, there's many parts off it, and it's in the right state. But today we're going to crack on. We're going to make good progress. We've got Joe joining us again, fortunately, and I think today we're going to turn a corner. So, what we got going on? Well, eBay's been getting hammering again, so's everything else. The new seals are here for the rear mains, the ones that I wanted to replace because I misfitted them last week. Wasn't happy with how they're fitted. New flywheel bolts, they're here. Also got a new clutch slave cylinder because in the end I thought I'm going to bite the bullet, I'm going to do that while I'm here. That's at the back of the gearbox. Also, 2 new tyres, or they've done a couple of 100 miles. They were given to me by a friend. Thank you very much, Jamie. Really appreciate that. He did a couple of 100 miles on them, decided he wants some more knobbly tyres on his GS and swapped these over, said I could have them. I dare say by the time I come back, done 4,000 or 5,000 miles on them, they're probably going to be toast. So I'm going to start fitting one of those. I'm going to melt in the heat because it's really hot today. I'm going to sweat, it's horrible. And hopefully Joe will be here soon. He can start building up, fitting the seals, getting the clutch in, and we'll start getting this bike looking like a motorbike again. Yeah. Right, well, you've seen the tyres been fitted on there, and you might notice I've got a different t-shirt on. That's because I was literally melting out there fitting that tyre. It's really hot today, and I was in a big sweaty horrible mess. But anyway, look who's here.
Can't keep me away,
Can't keep him away, so Joe's come back.
Looking for punishment.
To help me, hopefully, because we got a lot done last week, but you want to see it done, don't you?
Well, yeah.
So
We've got 3 weeks now.
3 weeks. Oh, I didn't tell you, I've actually booked the MOT as well. So not this weekend, 2 weeks today, we've got an MOT booked. So...
Well, your tyre will pass.
It'll, yeah, the tyre will pass. Might just take that, just see if we can get an MOT with the tyre. But yeah, we're going to... what do you reckon? We'll just get the seals done, clutch in?
Seals done, clutch in, gearbox.
Yeah. So we've already, Joe brought a can of Red Bull with him. We've had a can of Red Bull each, so we're
G'd up for it.
We're G'd up, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Shall we? We'll crack on, shall we?
Let's do it.
Right. Okay, so what you can see now is Joe removing the old seals. He's doing that by drilling a little hole in them and putting a screw in them, and then he's carefully just going to lever them out of there, getting ready to fit the new ones. So Joe is just about to slide the first of the rear main seals back on there. He's got the seal slid on the can, and then he's going to slide the can over the end of the crankshaft and push the seal into its place and just gently tap that back in to make sure it's nice and sealed. So with the first one in, he's now got the second one on there, and he's just about to tap that in as well. So he pushes the seal into place, gets that seal into place, and then pulls the can out so the seal sits there, and then just sits that in. Did a far better job of doing it than I did. So next we've got the flywheel going back on with the new flywheel bolts, and we're going to torque those up, get ready for the clicks. And with the bolts torqued up, then we just have to quickly nip them up a bit more with the angle finder, so we're just tightening those another 30 degrees on top of the 40 Newton meters that they've already been tightened up. And now we have the rest of the clutch assembly going together. There is the friction plate sandwiched between the inner and the outer housing, and we've managed to line all this up using a long punch and a socket. Saved buying the expensive tool to do so, and it all seemed to work out quite well. Next we go around putting the bolts in for the clutch housing, steadily doing those up, and then we torque them up again, get ready for the clicks. There we go. We're all ready for the gearbox to go back in. We're making good progress, really happy, but it's now time for, yes, the bacon and egg. It's bacon and egg sandwich time. Time's getting on, it's gone 1 o'clock, I didn't realise what time it was, so we're going to have that and then we're going to crack on and get the gearbox in. What we have just seen on the news, which is not very good, is there actually been earthquakes in Morocco. So we will, obviously at the minute, the plan is we're still going, things aren't going to change, it's 3 weeks away, you know, a lot can happen, so we are still going. I've already had a comment come up on one of the videos saying about that, so as it goes at the minute, you know, things aren't changing, we're still going to go. We'll have to have a look to see where these earthquakes are and all the rest of it, so the route could change a bit, whatever, I don't know, but the minute we're still going. Well, there's a nice bacon and egg sandwich. We're now ready to refit the gearbox. Here it is. We've got new output shaft seal in there. We've also done the input shaft seal. That's all done, so both the seals, the major seals on there are done, and now we're ready. And I replaced one of the bobbins on there, so I can now bolt the battery tray down. We're ready. Once the gearbox goes back on and a couple more bits, it's actually going to look like a bike again. So here we go, we're going to crack on and we'll cut back in a bit. And here we go, at long last the gearbox is going back in. Made a lot easier having an extra pair of hands. Thank goodness Joe being there, and we're just going round popping the bolts in and then going round tightening those up. Next we'll be putting in the clutch slave cylinder. First of all we put in the rod for that goes in first, and then we put in the new clutch slave cylinder. Tightening the bolts up for that. And then Joe just making a start of putting the starter motor back in. As Joe's connecting the starter motor up there, I'm just starting to reconnect the hoses onto the clutch slave cylinder. Right, you're seeing we've got the gearbox in, clutch is all, clutch slave is on, starter motor's now in, and we're now trying to bleed this clutch. And what a palaver this has turned out to be. What do you reckon, Joe? My bleeding heart. You're bleeding. I'm covered. I've got clutch fluid all down me because obviously we've had to take the bleed nipple out of the front caliper, out of there, to put into here to bleed it. Believe it or not, this is the way they tell you to do it. So bleed nipple in there. We're now trying to bleed that. We've got the clutch fluid reservoir there. Every time I'm pumping that a bit so we can try and bleed it,
You're wearing it?
It's jumping out and covering me. So the things we have to do. But we're going to carry on, we're going to get this bled and then we'll get some more stuff bolted on around here. But we are making good progress, aren't we? What do you reckon?
It's warm.
It's warm, it is very warm, isn't it? And the camera bolt strapped on there very professionally so we can get the angles. Alright, let's carry on. So now the final drive's going back together. Joe's just slipped the housing back over the drive shaft there, and now he's going to put the bolts back in that hold that together. These turned out to be a bit tricky to get torqued up. One side is quite a large torque measurement, you can see torquing up there, and then the other side, which is this side now, you have to torque the inner bit up to something like 7 Newton meters, hold the nut and then torque the outside up. And there we go, the final seal of the project being changed. This is the seal in the final drive. Probably more of a precautionary one to change this now, but that's being popped out and we're changing that last seal. Thank goodness. So just about to pop that seal in. There we go, that's going in, and then we can get ready to put the final drive back into place. There we go, sliding it back in. It was a bit tricky getting this in, as I remember. We had to try and finagle it a bit and twist it a bit, and just all of a sudden go give it a little tap and it popped in there. And again, when we did this, we had to put the bolts in each side, torque those up, a bit of thread lock on there as well, and then that was that. I have to do it properly, read the book. It's a good job Joe was there, because he read the book and got that exactly as it should be. Bit of confidence now that that's going to be alright, doing all those miles. And with all that moving and bouncing about, here we go. Oh, the camera falls over. Oh, looking at my shorts. No, not a good look. Anyway, back on the side for that, so we can carry on filming. The bike's getting there. We're both greasy, horrible, sweaty. But look, I mean, look at that. We'll fold the frame down in a minute, but look, it's back together. There's stuff on there. There's things happening. It's looking like a bike again.
Washing your anxiety away.
Oh yeah, it's making me feel good. Making me feel good. So, I think next what we're going to do, we're going to have a
bit of a clean.
Quick wash up. Maybe even a beer. I think it's beer o'clock. What do you reckon? Yeah, it's getting what it is really hot. It's horrible.
I didn't even go, and you're just trying to acclimatise for your trip.
Yeah. So there's still loads to go on. We can bolt the exhaust on, because I have to take a load of the exhaust off and get that bolted back on. Throttle bodies can go back on. Foot pegs can go back on. Shock can go back on. Frame can come down. Wheel. Oh yeah, wheel. I forgot it has a wheel. Brake. I've got all these to go back on, the cables. So yeah, there's still a fair bit to do, but it feels like we're getting somewhere now. So we'll give our hands a wash, we'll get a beer, and we'll crack on. Well, after that well-deserved beer, we're now dropping the new rear shock in. Again, this is from the GS Adventurer, so this will be a little bit taller, giving us a little bit more height. And then we can make the bike look like a bike again. There we go, dropping the rear frame down, and finally it looks like a motorbike again. And here we are, putting the battery tray back into place, connecting some wires up, getting ready with all the last cables. Joe's connecting the throttle bodies, which he's just rebuilt, so we're hoping they're going to do well. Last little bits going together. A few pipes being pulled about, injector going back in there. That's all looking good. And then finally, the wheel that's just had the new tyre put on, that's also getting a new disc. So we're popping the bolts back in, bit of thread lock on those as well as they're going in, don't want those coming undone. And then finally the back wheel is going in. Well folks, as you will have seen, the back wheel is in. The bike is now looking like a bike. Let's have a look round. So look, a motorbike. Oh yes, I am so happy. Look, really happy. Look at it, it is looking like a bike again. So, what have we done today? Obviously, gearbox is in, rear shaft and final drive, rear shock, foot pegs are back in, rear brakes back on, tyres on, wheels back in place, new brake discs, new brake pads, exhaust in place, foot hanger this side, throttle bodies are on, gear change is in, starter motors in, a load of wiring and stuff, all the miscellaneous stuff sort of around here has been put back into place, which was really fiddly and really pain in the arse. Nobody snapped one of these off at all. We won't mention anything about that, Joe, will we? That didn't get snapped at all. I won't blame Joe because he's taken his day out, you know. It's his Saturday he's given up, so I won't mention
to break your bike
that he's broken that at all. But luckily, Gaz's box of bits came into play again. So, it was no drama really that Joe broke that, but I'm not mentioning it. Right?
Again.
I'm not going to mention that. But if I get a fuel leak on the way, obviously that will be Joe's fault. But yeah, I mean, look at it. What a day. So, I'd like to say a big thank to Joe again for giving up. Not for breaking it. These things happen, don't they? We've already said this. He felt really guilty. I was like, Joe, don't worry about it. These things happen. It's an old bike, things break, doesn't matter. But what we'll say is, that's it for today. Come back in the next episode because I've now got 2 weeks until an MOT. And although we've got a good day on it, there's still a lot to do. So, is it going to be ready in time for the MOT? Cutting it fine. It's doable, but I'm cutting it fine. I'm not going to lie, we're cutting it fine. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks to Joe for coming over. Thanks for all you lot. Thanks for your buy me a coffees and all that sort of thing. I've not had time to say thank you to everybody properly, but thanks a lot, everybody. Come back in the next episode to see if we can get this buttoned up, ready for an MOT. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.